Fun. All right. So welcome. This is such a good time of the year to start thinking about a business plan for 2022, if y'all can believe that. Quick show of hands. Anybody have a business plan in place currently? Okay. Has anyone ever created a business plan?
You have with me.
Yes. Okay. That's good. When I first started and I was talking to people about business plans, I would giggle and laugh to myself because it was almost like, oh no, like if I create a plan, then my business is going to tank.
I think a lot of times, and it's horrible because we feel like if we sit, and it's really starting off on the bad foot mentally, but it's almost like scared to set a goal and not reach it versus just saying, okay, well, I don't know. It's a horrible way of thinking. It really is.
Well, and I get that because it is. It's kind of like, oh boy, like this just made it very real putting it on paper. But I think if we can expand what we think a business plan could be or what we believe it to be, I think that that is step one. So that's where we're going to start today. And what I want to kind of begin with is by saying that business plans do not have to be the end all be all when it comes to how you measure your success in your business. A business plan extends far beyond your business. And if y'all don't take anything else away from this class today, please take that with you. This is not just about your business. Stacy and I were literally just having this conversation about vision, about who are you, what is important to you, what do you want, why do you want it? All of those things, if you don't think are relevant to creating a solid plan, then you are highly, highly mistaken. All of those things are what provide the foundation for a business plan to move forward. So what I'm going to do, and I wasn't sure if I was going to go about it this direction, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to show y'all the different types of templates and plans that are being widely used by us here at RE/MAX One, by different industry leaders like Jared James, Tom Ferry, Dermot Buffini, who's going to be doing a business planning coaches corner at noon today as a webinar. I want to show these to you guys because I want to show you how they start, what they're taking into consideration, and that it is not just about, let me plug a number in and let me see if I can hit that goal. Does that work for some people? Of course it does. I think all of us do better when we know what the target is that we're trying to hit. Okay. However, that is not the only measure of success. And that's what I want y'all to take away from this today too. So a business plan does not have to be intimidating. It does not have to be scary. It's mostly for you to utilize as a tool to check in with yourself about how you're doing. Okay. And also to provide you with an enormous amount of clarity on how to best move forward. So I'm going to minimize this Zoom window really quickly so that everyone can see. Here we go. Okay. So this is the business plan workbook that was shared with me. A friend of Charlie sent this to him. And what you're going to notice immediately is it's already asking the big questions. It is asking the big questions of you first and foremost, because the best possible thing, and this is what you and I were just talking about, Stacy, the best possible thing that any one of us can do before we even think about business is to reflect inwardly and ask ourselves these big questions. What is most important to us? What do I want my life to look like next year, 5 years, 10 years? Envision what the perfect day for you looks like. Maybe it's you get up without an alarm, whatever time you get up. It's a slow morning, you have coffee, okay? Or if you're not a coffee drinker, you have your favorite drink ever. It's beautiful outside. You are content, you are happy. You don't have to want for anything because your financial needs are being met. You have a wonderful home that you live in. Your day can go exactly as planned.
Content is a good word. That's a good thing to,
that, and you feel totally fulfilled at the same time. That is what I want you to kind of prime your mind for, because when we talk about vision, we're not talking about just a vision for business. I want to know, what is your meaningful life vision? That was something that was taught to me when I first came on here, and I'll be totally transparent with y'all. I couldn't answer the question. I was telling Stacy when I first started, it was a time of my life where I only had one goal for as far back from that point that I could remember. My sole purpose, my sole vision, my sole goal was to have a child. because we weren't able to. We were struggling. We couldn't figure out what was going wrong, why it wasn't happening for us. And thankfully, we were blessed with our babies. But at the same time, it was like, now what? That was all I could focus on for years. And then it was here and I was living it. And I'm like telling and coaching you guys, what's your vision? And I'm like, I don't even have one. So I was very open, and I told Charlie, I told David, who coaches me, I'm like, listen, I don't know where to start. And he was like, what do you want your life to look like? Now that you have this family that you've yearned for forever, like, what do you want your life to be? Take business out of it. Okay. And at first I was like, wait, what do you mean take the business out of it? Like what? And he said, if you don't have something meaningful to attach something to, then anything you do is only going to be subpar, because only when we can attach what we want to accomplish in our business to something that is deeply meaningful to us, unless that happens, then everything we do business-wise is not going to be important to us. And it makes it so much easier to create excuses to put it on the back burner, or, well, it's fine. It's fine. If you attached what your goals are to your business to the thing that you want in terms of your life, there is nothing that is going to stop you from getting it. Okay. So again, meaningful life vision, that is step one. And I'm not going to pretend that that is an easy thing to come up with, because it isn't. And Stacy and I were talking about this. Your vision of when you were 20, hey, come on in, is not the same as your vision when you're 30, or it shouldn't be. And why is that? Because your perspective has the tendency to change as you have different experiences, as you move forward with life. So don't get so caught up on what is my vision? What is my vision today? And what do I do if my vision is different? I want it to be different. It needs to be different, because that indicates that you are evolving and that you are growing. So I want to go through some of this with you guys. This comes right out with the big questions. What do I want to achieve in my business in 5 years? What do I want to achieve in my life in 5 years, right? What do I want to achieve in my business in 1 year? Same question, but for life. So you guys can see, they're not just asking, what do you want to do in your business? What's your goal? What's your transaction benchmark? They want to know, what do you want your life to look like when you see it a couple of years down the line or next year? Okay. Because if y'all are anything like me, which I think all of us are, the better that you do professionally, the more you're able to do personally. Sometimes I think there's a struggle where people think, oh, but in order for me to do better professionally, then my personal life suffers. Wrong. If you know how to structure your day, and if you make the most of it, and you delegate and you leverage, or you create leverage, you can have all that you want to have. You can be a present person in your family, just like you can be a rock star in your business. But again, it goes back to, what is it that you want? For some people, I'll ask them, tell me what you want this year. I want to be able to provide a new car for a family member. Great. How much is that new car going to cost? And they'll tell me, okay, now how many transactions is that? And then we'll say, okay, in order for you to be able to do and maintain your lifestyle and pay cash for a car for a family member, that's this much money that your business needs to generate. Now, how are we going to generate that? How many transactions is that? And then we build it from there. That's a business plan. When you're putting these ideas, your wants, your hopes, your goals, your visions on paper, that is a business plan. Okay. Because if you can, again, attach your business to things that are meaningful to you, you will find a way to make sure that that happens. Okay.
And that translates with anything you want to do, right? Because I mean, this is basically what you would bring if you're wanting to pitch.
Yes.
For a financial, anything else that you want to know.
Anything.
Yeah.
Shark Tank. Exactly. It is so Shark Tank. Yeah. This is an amazing question. How will I know that I am making progress? Okay. I ask myself this all the time. All the time. The answer is accountability, measuring, tracking, improving, evaluating. That is how you know you're making progress, because you're seeing it. Okay. And you're making modifications along the way. What's the biggest pain point right now in my business? What's a problem that you would love for someone to solve? Okay. That's what goes here. What's going really well for me in my business right now? Okay. This is good. These are things that can also be delegated or enhanced even further. Okay, now look at this. Family, faith, fun, personal, not professional, personal objectives for the year ending, maybe next year. Look ahead to next year. What are your objectives in these areas? When you kind of touch base with yourself and you're like, okay, what is my objective for my spiritual self for the coming year, or my faith, or whatever you want to call it? What do I want to do for fun? We were just talking about this. What brings me enjoyment? What do I truly like to do? And who do I like to do that with? Do I like to hibernate? Yes. Do I like to go and do? Yes. But what is my idea of fun? What do I enjoy as me? Family. What are your objectives for your family this year or for next year? Write them down. Write them down. And what you're doing, you guys, you're creating a framework for an actual plan by being able to answer these questions. And again, I am not saying that these are easy things to dig out of you. They're not. And it's going to take time. But start now and just ask yourself, like, what is it that I want? How do I want these areas of my life to improve? And then how can I improve them? Okay. Friends, fitness.
I need that.
Friends, I need that.
I love how that one is like way here at the bottom.
That's funny.
This is also probably one of my favorite sections. This is core values. Brainstorm. It's asking you to write down all of the words or phrases that describe the character traits that you value the most, whether that's in yourself or in others. What are the things that draw you to other people in terms of the person that they are, the character that they have?
Are you going to email us this?
Yeah, I'll send it. There's no wrong answers. If it's important to you, write it down. It could be integrity. It could be transparency. It could be vulnerability, humor, appreciation, any number of things. What do you value in other people? What do you hope to bring to other people? That's what you're going to write here. Okay.
Both of them, you write what you value.
I would.
what you hope to do.
Totally. Now, after you do that, it's going to ask you to read through the list and then consider how each one of those fits you today, but also think ahead. What would you want to be better at? You know, maybe you want to be more flexible, more fluid. I would love that. That is a struggle that I have. We were just talking about that. I'm very orderly by the book, and I could benefit from a little spontaneity. I'm just saying.
It's so funny though, because we're talking about that and how we're similar but different, because you are focused, and that is something that I struggle with. You know what I mean, with my ADHD. So
I need a little more.
yeah, so I appreciate that. Yeah.
Okay, next one. Do you guys notice how mission is not the first thing? How could you possibly create a meaningful mission statement if you do not know who you are and what is important to you? Period. This is where I feel like people get a little ahead of the cart, so to speak, whenever they're crafting mission, vision statements, values, things of that nature, because they have not taken the time to kind of dive deep to really think about or consider what is most important to them. Who are they? What do they want? Why do they want it? That is the very definition of the first quality that we look for when we add people to this company. Who are you? Who were you? Who do you hope to be? What do you want and why? Right there. That's what I'm trying to dig out of people whenever I meet with them to determine if they would be a great fit for our environment. Okay. We call it motivated at the same time.
Who were you? That's yeah.
Yeah. How do you describe your previous?
Tell me
I
how
don't
you
wanna
got
share
to
that.
this part. Yeah. Tell me how you got here. Tell me what brought you to, to be interested in this. And no two stories are alike, which is
No.
great.
I'm like, no.
No. Why am I in business? What makes me unique? Which is what you and I are talking about. What do I want to be known for? When somebody and you guys know this, whenever you guys have been at networking events or what have you, and somebody mentions someone that's well known, what do you think of first? That is what this question is asking. What do you want to be known for? Is it your openness? Is it your kindness? Is it the way that you treat other people? Is it your honesty? Whatever that is, that's what you need to kind of ask yourself. What do you want to be known for? What do I intend to do better than everyone else when it comes to the way that I treat people, the way that I handle my business, the way that I operate my business? What do I want to accomplish in my business? When you can answer those questions, then you will be able to have a very, very thorough mission statement. Okay. Now, this was example number 1. Okay. And I promised y'all that I'm going to show y'all several. Example number 1 really, really zeroes in on those types of questions that I just went through. Who are you? Who are you? Who do you hope to be? What do you want? Why do you want it? Okay. If all of those questions are too much for you, I would encourage you to start with those 5. Okay. Because that is, why do we do that? That is where we gain clarity. And when you have clarity, it is that much easier to create a plan or your goals in order to help get you where you want to be financially through your business. Okay. Do you have any questions on this attachment before I switch to the other one? Now, let me move this down. Here is another one. For those of you who are visual, you will like this. Okay, so this is Tom Ferry. This is a Tom Ferry business plan template. And what I love about this is he's like, look, we're just going to get right to it. And I want to know from you, how do you think you fare in each of these different categories? Okay, so basically you're going to rate yourself. When it comes to your business systems that you currently have in place, would you say that that's in poor condition, fair, iffy, right? Good, or excellent? Okay. Same thing for mindset and goals. Same scale. Okay. I think most of us do pretty good in that category because that's what we talk about all the time, right? What about planning and organization? Getting shit done. That's what GSD means. I think it's get stuff done, but I like it the other way. Same thing, right? How are you able to execute when you make a task list, basically? This one down here, lead generation and marketing systems. Most of us are pretty good here, I think. Maybe somewhere in here. Between fair and good, right? Yeah. Presentation and conversion skills. I think y'all are probably.
It's a conversation.
Was it?
No, it's.
Oh, okay. I was like,
it's conversation.
But yeah, I think y'all do exceptionally well in this area because otherwise there'd be no transactions, right? Because you've got to be able to do this.
Definitely good one.
And then finally,
I thought it was really good when it was conversation skills.
we can go with conversation either way. And then the last one is business systems. This is where I see we need the most work right here. Systems and processes, right?
Yeah.
So this right here is an extremely simple visual, but it tells you a lot of where your goals can go and how the goals that you set for yourself can improve in these areas. So in other words, clarity, it allows you to just practice the pause for a minute, look in these different areas, rate yourself today of how you think you're doing. And then from there, you can say, okay, I desperately need to improve my business system. So I'm going to make a goal to create 3 systems in the first quarter and implement them. Okay.
Who are people that in this company that you think of when you think of they are top of the line with creating business systems?
Heather Lang.
That's what I thought too. That's what I was thinking of too. Yeah.
Heather Lang.
I was wondering if you had somebody else. That's who I was thinking too. She's
Dana
got all of
Johnson
her
is another
checklists
one.
Okay. I don't know Dana Johnson's
Mm-hmm.
stuff that she does, but yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, there is no,
I've
in
got
my
her
mind,
on
she
my
is like,
goals.
I mean, to like the nth degree.
Yeah, she
Heather
is.
Lang, there is a system and process for everything that they do, whether it's teeny tiny or something really big.
Yeah, she's super duper smart.
Yeah.
And
Very, very organized.
calculated, but in a good way.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
sure. But can you guys see how using a tool like this can provide you some clarity on how to move forward by creating goals in each of these areas, right? Okay, so that's the Tom Ferry one. Now I'm going to share with you guys ours.
I'm trying to think of somebody for each area.
Okay. So ours is straight out of Momentum. So if you guys have done real estate perspectives, then a lot of this is going to sound very familiar to you. Or if you've done activities management, vital activities checklists, all of those classes this is very reminiscent of that. Okay. Now, ours is in a handy dandy workbook that comes either in an Excel file or a Google Sheet. Okay. So this is a full workbook. And what I want to show you guys, this is a little bit more technical. So for those of you who respond well to having a target to aim for when it comes to this many transactions equals this much income, this one would speak well for you. Okay. However, I want to very much emphasize that all of this is irrelevant unless you know exactly what you want. That's why I started with that other plan, because while ours looks a lot more technical and a lot more numbery and a lot more like financial, it still starts with what do you want and why do you want it? It starts with that thing that's meaningful to you specifically. Okay. So from there, our business plan. So if you were to sit down one-on-one with me, or if you have sat down one-on-one with me, a lot of this is going to sound very familiar to you. But basically our framework, which is a good place to start. There's three areas. There's a financial model or an economic model. There is an operational model, and there's an organizational model. Financial is, what do you want to make? What do you want your business to generate in terms of income or economic? That's your model. The operational is, what needs to be done? Where are the transactions going to come from? Okay. What sources are you going to generate your business in? Or is it your network? Is it for sale by owners? Is it expired? Whatever that may be. And then lastly is the organizational model. So whether you're on a team or you're an individual, who is responsible for doing these things? Or better yet, who can you delegate to? Or what system can you put into place to help provide a little bit of wiggle room for you to do the activities that are most important and to do the activities that you most enjoy? Okay, so for us, three models: financial, operational, organizational. But again, it starts with what do you want and why? From there, I'll say, what do you want your business to make this year? Everybody has a number. Most of the time I find when I talk to people, it's not always about the money. It's also about some time. It's not always about, I want to make $800,000 and have no time to myself. It's a happy balance. It's that sweet spot, the intersection between all the time and all the money to make you feel like your life is where you want it to be. Okay. So that's the question that I'm going to ask first is, tell me what you want your income to be. And some people are like, I just want to replace my salary from my old job because I knew that was enough for my family and that's where we were comfortable. Perfect. There's no wrong answer. I literally met with one of our agents who doesn't have to work. She just does this because she truly loves it. And she was like, my goal is to pay off my credit card. Great. So I asked her, I said, what is your credit card balance? And she told me, and I was like, let's do it. And that's what I plugged into this first box.
You sure that's what a credit card balance?
I forgot. I'm just kidding. Right. So that's what we put in this number box, because for her, she wasn't like aiming for a particular income goal so much. It was just about enjoying the process, enjoying the business. But she did have a goal. She wanted to pay off her credit card. So that's what we put here. And then I'll ask, what are your annual expenses? Okay. We combine those numbers, your income goal and your expenses, and that's where we determine your revenue that's going to be needed. Okay. Then I'm going to ask you, what's your average commission rate? Nobody ever has 3% PS. It is usually 2.6, 2.7, somewhere in there. Okay. Then we're going to know that's how much volume needs to be sold. And this is just specific to this example. Okay. Now, once we know your closed volume, I'm going to ask you, what is your average sales price? For people who are new to the business, what we do is we just take the average out of the MLS. I think it's like 205 now. It used to be like 180 and now it's 205. Yay.
Wow, it is 205.
Yeah, 205.
It was 179-ish or so, I think.
Pretty cool. Yeah. It's pretty cool. So that's what we would put there. But again, you guys can see by the nature of these questions, you've got to be aware of how you're what your expenses are. You've got to be aware of what your average commission, which I know a lot of you guys are tracking your transactions anyway, but if you wanted to, you can always log into Lone Wolf and see the same things. Okay. And then all of these numbers combined spit out what we call a transaction benchmark. So if you want to make 150,000, like what you guys see on the screen, taking into account what your expenses are over the year, taking into account your average commission rate and your average sales price, in order to hit this goal, you need to close 29 transactions. Now, for me, my brain is wired this way. I like to have a target. I like to know where I am, okay, throughout the year. I don't like to just come up and say, oh, how many do I need to close? Oh, crap, I'm way off. Whenever I was doing commercial leases, for my previous life, I had a number in the top right-hand corner of my whiteboard. And it was there to remind me, like, what are you doing today? What are you doing today to help get you closer to that number? For some, that's way too much. They're like, nope, I can't do that. I don't function in that type of environment. It's too stressful. It's too overwhelming.
It's good to know until like it's month 6. You're like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Exactly. But this is an alternate route that you could take with the understanding that it still comes back to, what is your meaningful life vision? What do you want? Why do you want it? Okay. Without that, we really can't go very far. Now, operational model. I mentioned this, right? This is where are the transactions going to come from? How are you going to generate the transactions? These are the most common sources. This is not a full list, right? Because we know it can come from all sorts of places. I will tell y'all, the one in blue here, network and sphere, 80% of the transactions that come through our company are closed because of the network and sphere that the agents, you guys have, okay? So 80%. For sell by owner, you might have 1 or 2 throughout the year, give or take. Expired, same thing. Farming, I love farming. I think that can absolutely pay off when it's done consistently. Just listed, just sold, and then of course the internet, social media. But this is a good way to kind of take a look, particularly if you've been doing this a year or 2, where did the majority of your business come from? You know, for many of you, it's going to be your sphere and your network. For some of you, it might be social media. I met with an agent, one of ours, and she was like, 80% of my business comes from social media. I'm like, then we need to go deeper on social media, because obviously what you're doing is working. So let's go deeper on that. So it may be different for you compared to the person next to you. That's okay. You just need to be able to break out and anticipate, okay, if I sold this many listings last year from my social media, then this year I think I can close 3 or 4 more in that space if I continue to go deeper on that. Or maybe you're a network and sphere kind of girl, and that's where 80% of your business comes from. And you could say, I sold 25 listings last year, or I had 25 sides last year in my network and sphere. So I think if I go deeper on that and I do more with those people, then I can add 5 more. So that's where you're going to kind of forecast where and how you're going to generate additional transactions, if that was your goal, to hit your transaction benchmark that you set above. Okay. Do y'all have any questions on that? Okay. And then the organizational model, that's the who, right? Who is responsible for this? If you're an individual, that does not mean that you have to do everything all by yourself. There are systems and people that you can delegate to that can take some of that off of your plate. Things like title companies and lenders and inspectors, all of these people kind of on the periphery of the transaction. Don't be afraid to delegate to those people. If you have a client who's wearing you out with financial or lender related questions, don't waste your time. Like, give them the lender, let the lender answer those questions. It's same thing when you have, if there's something going on with title company and there's all sorts of weird stuff that comes back on that, give them to the title company. You don't have to take all of that on all the time. Same thing when it comes to the staff here. Let us take some of that off of your plate where we can. Okay. Things like coordinating marketing materials or getting you marketing, whatever that looks like. Don't be afraid to lean in where you can to offload some of that. Now, what should you be doing? You guys have done vital activities. There are 47 on the listing side, and there are also 47 on the buyer side. I use this as a checklist because I want to know, what am I currently doing when I have a buyer and a seller? What am I not doing? And what extra things am I doing that I don't need to be doing? Okay. Because when we look at a vital activities checklist like this one, it's easy for us to see where our time is going, where it should be going, and how much of it is being wasted doing things that we could delegate to something or someone else. That's why I say utilize it as a checklist, because it'll give you a good idea of, are you doing a whole bunch of fluff that you don't need to be doing that takes you off of these things? Or are you not doing some of these things that you need to add into your routine and your system? Okay, so we do that on the listing side. We do it on the buyer side.
Are you going to share this one with us also?
Certainly. And then here's everyone's favorite part: tracking, measuring, evaluating in order to improve. Okay. So these are what we would call the conversion rates. Now, again, This is definitely the most technical plan out of all the business plans, but I do think that it is worth your time and your effort to go into this and just kind of check in and see where you fall. Because again, when you can track and measure, you're going to have a lot of clarity on where you are excelling and where you could improve a little bit. Okay, which means it's that much easier to go into training that's designed for those specific skills so that you have relevant and tailored training to help you get to your goals. Does that make sense? All right, so these are what we call the key conversion rates. So of the attempts, and it says dials, but let's just call that an attempt. How many do you have to make a connection to or do your outreach to before you talk to someone? You know, do you have to make 10 attempts to talk to 5 people? Or is it 10 attempts to talk to 8 people? That's what you're measuring there. Of the ones that you do get to talk with, and it's not just, hey, you know, by yourself, it's literally, hey, how are you? That's what I think gets lost sometimes. Of those that you talk to, how many result in an appointment that you set? And an appointment could be a buyer appointment. It could be a listing appointment. It could be a lunch date. Face-to-face is what we're looking for. Of those appointments that you set, how many actually resulted in a meeting that took place? So, you know, this happens all the time. Like you'll make a lunch date and then someone cancels. How many meetings did you have compared to the number of appointments that you set or meetings that you set up? Of the meetings that you had, how many did you convert to a listing? Either by referral or through that person directly. Of the listings that you have, how many did you sell? And then how many buyer calls did your listing and your marketing generate? These are things that are fun to track. It is a lot, but once you make yourself kind of incorporate that into your system, you kind of get attached to it because you want to know.
Do you like do it once a day? Is that the easiest way to track it?
So I'll tell you, there was a recruiting challenge last year and we were literally tracking these same things. It was attempts, talks, sets, mets, invites, and joins. Those were our metrics. And so I would literally, it was easier for me to do it in the moment, to track that in the moment. Like if I would send out 10 text messages, I would do 10 little things. Like I had a kind of they gave us an app that we could input those numbers in. Like there was a box for attempts. There was a box for sets, a box for mets, a box for invites, and then joins. So I could just at any point just plot the numbers in there and then we were good to go. So some people like to kind of aggregate it and then fill it all in at the end of the day. Some people find that it's easier to do it in the moment. So I would just tell you trial and error works best to figure out how it can fit in with your current routine and your current system. Now down here, if you guys can see this right here, this under transaction benchmark, what this is also going to help you see is, are you a really strong lead generator or are you a super strong lead converter, or are you both? Because these are the activities, attempts, talks, and sets, that's all lead generating activity. So if you're really strong in here, maybe you nail your numbers of attempts every day. You talk to people all the time, you set, but then nothing ever comes of it. That means you would need some improvement on converting them. How do you convert them from, okay, I've got in front of them, they're meeting with me, but then I can't move them forward. I can't get them to go and show. I can't get them to have a listing conversation. That would indicate that you're struggling in lead conversion, which means we have a class for that. That's what I mean by tailored, relevant training. That is how we kind of break this out. And that's why tracking these things that we just went through is so valuable to you and your own awareness for where you're doing really well. Because if you're killing it at lead generation, you probably don't need to go to a lead generation class. But if you're falling down and you're not able to convert them, then I would be in every single lead conversion class that I could. Okay, tailored training. Here's another way to look at it. You can look at listing conversion rates. You can do anticipated number of listings that you're going to sell in each of these categories here at the top: network, expired, FSBOs, farming, just sold. Percentage of the listings that you sell from the source. Percentage of time that you get the listing from the initial outreach. That's pretty cool to track too. Harder, but cool. Percentage of the time the prospect from the source doesn't cancel. That's fun too. Percentage of the time that you set an appointment when talking to someone. I think that's great. And then percentage of the time that you talk to a prospect when you make an attempt. So all of the same things that we were just talking about, like dials per talks per set, that's all this is, just broken out. Okay, so you can look at it either on this tab or the one that we just looked at. Same thing here. These are just accountability standards for listing and on the buyer side. So it's basically just like a little chart that you just fill in the blank whenever you're looking at it on those initial conversion rates. But yeah, this is our, we call it a business planning workbook. It is by far the most technical, but again, it can provide you with a lot of insight as to where you can most improve so that you can better direct your efforts when it comes to training and developing those skills. Do you have any questions on this one? Okay, so let me show you all the last one. This one is very reminiscent of the one that we just did. Now, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, Jared James, who is an industry coach, previously a RE/MAX agent many moons ago. He is really fun to listen to because he's very tactical. So he doesn't just have ideas. He's like, here's how you do it. And here's how you do it. Here's why you do it. Very, very easy to listen to, but he held a webinar as part of the Coach's Corner series, and it was about business plans. And he will tell you, Brian Buffini will tell you, any really industry coach will tell you, you got to know your numbers, or at least where you start. Okay. So that's the approach that Jared James takes when it comes to business plans. Now, what's cool about his sheet, and I'll share this with y'all too, so that you have it all. You can kind of see which one works best with you. But he's saying, okay, what is your gross commission income, your GCI goal when looking ahead at your business for next year? Again, it all starts with, what do you want? Okay, because otherwise you're just throwing numbers in here and seeing what works. And then you don't care about it. Then it's like, oh, well, I didn't meet my goal. No big deal. That should make you feel pained when you don't reach your goal. And it would if you connected it to something meaningful. Like if your goal was $75,000 because you want to go get a new GMC for your husband and you didn't hit that goal, you're going to feel that because you didn't get to do what you wanted to do for your husband. That is what we're talking about here. Okay. Now, this is really great because Jared's formula literally breaks this down to, this is how many appointments you need to have each week if you want to hit this goal. Pretty cool stuff. So let's just go through it here together. Say that I meet with an agent and they have a gross commission income goal for 2022 of platinum. So in RE/MAX terms, that's 250,000. All right. 250,000 in gross commission income is what we call the platinum level for the club awards. Now, my average commission, or at least in the company average commission is right at $5,000. Okay. So I'm going to say $5,000 for average commission per transaction.
Okay.
Yeah, good question. So immediately you guys are seeing how that little number just populated. It's telling me the number of transactions to reach the goal is 50. Okay, good to know. But there's more that we need to look at. So if you were to go down the page just a little bit, you'll look here at 2021. It's going to say, what's your recap? Tell me what you did in 2021. How many listing appointments did you go on? Throw out a number. 30. Okay, perfect. And then how many did you list? Yeah. Oh, that's totally normal.
We'll go with 23.
23. Perfect. Okay. How many of them sold?
23.
Excellent. So closing percentage automatically populated. You were able to close on the listing. So you had those appointments, you got the listing 77% of the time. So if you went on 30 appointments and you got 23 of them successfully, 77% of the time you were able to convert is what he's saying. Okay, good number. So this year, how many listings for 2022 do you want to sell? If you went on 30 appointments last year for 2021 and it resulted in 23 that you sold, how many do you want to sell looking ahead?
I want to sell at least 40, so probably going 50 appointments.
So let's say that you said 40, yeah. Right? Okay. So you want to sell 40 listings. Whoops, sorry guys. So in this little box, I'm going to say 40. So check this out. If you want to sell 40 listings based on how you performed last year, you need to have 52 listing appointments. Okay. Not bad, right? Now, still looking at the recap. Now we're looking at buyers. How many potential buyers did you kind of have those initial conversations with? And this could be from all sources, right? The ones who maybe didn't work out, the ones who did. Potential buyers, let's say, I mean, a lot, right? Like maybe if you think like on a month-to-month basis, maybe 4 or 5 per month, I would say on average. So let's say 60, 12 months, 5 per month, 60. Okay. How many did you work with? Whether, regardless if they went anywhere or not, how many did you get in the process with?
More than half. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely more than half.
Yeah. So do you want to go in and say like maybe 45, just kind of meet in the middle somewhere? Okay. How many buyers did you close? Of the 45, how many, if you worked with 45, how many would you say you closed?
I would say you're gonna close more than over half of them.
I would think so too.
I mean, I would say like 75% of them you're gonna close, maybe 25 more drop off, 25% drop off.
Okay. So you're thinking maybe like 35, maybe 10 didn't work out.
Yeah, because definitely think you're gonna convert at least half of your 60.
Mhm. Okay. Let's do kind of conservative.
Yeah.
Okay. So 58% of the time, which is about right. Because Jonna, you're saying about half. So about 58% of the time. So how many houses do you want to be able to sell to a buyer? All of those 2021 numbers taken into account. If you worked with 45 and you sold 35, maybe it's 40. Maybe you want to get a little bit closer to that. Maybe you want to push it higher based on kind of where you see the buyer activity going, all things considered in the market. So for 2022, how many houses do you want to be able to sell to buyers?
Definitely want to go higher than what you sold. And
Mhm.
you had 60, you're definitely gonna have to go in.
Well, if you
I would
think,
say 75 to 80, you're gonna go up at least to
Mhm.
80.
Well, and here's my thought on it
That's
too.
not
Like
low.
I try to think about it on a month to month. Like if I wanted to try to aim for 4,
I would say 10.
every
10 a
month.
I wouldn't talk to 10 buyers a month.
okay, but how many do you want to sell?
I wouldn't convert all of them.
So that's what like so if you
How
did
many
48,
do I want to sell a month?
mhm,
I mean, 5 to 6.
5 to 6. Okay, so 60 to 72, right? So if we did 6, we'll go to 72.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means you need 123 appointments with the buyers because we know that the buyers aren't always going to make for whatever the reason, right? So here's what is so cool about this too. Going back up to the top, this is how many conversations you will need to have in order to hit those goals. 2,050 conversations.
Not the same person,
Mm,
right? Oh.
all across the board, buyers, sellers, okay? Conversations, that's not meetings, y'all, just conversations.
But is that like, can you have it the same person multiple times or? do
Yeah,
they
yeah.
count? Okay.
Oh, yeah. But look at this, y'all. He breaks it up on a week and a month basis. If you want to hit that income goal, your goal per week is to have 4 face-to-face appointments. That could be all listings, it could, or all sellers, it could be all buyers, it could be a little bit of both.
Do they need to be 4 different people or could it be somebody who's seeing?
4 different people.
Yeah.
4 different people. 4 appointments a week, 15 appointments per month. So essentially, if you could aim to have half the month that had at least 1 appointment on the books, you're going to hit that goal.
Well, how are you gonna get 4 people? That's the problem, like.
Oh, 4 new people.
4, yes.
Yeah.
4
yes.
appointments
Like,
per
yeah,
week.
yeah.
Same person
I'm
over
not like,
and
let's
over
go to
again,
lunch
yeah.
every Tuesday.
Yeah.
No.
Say that you
Where are
work
you gonna get those 4 new people?
50 weeks a year.
2,050 conversations.
Yeah, one of mine. I'm just gonna open up the phone. book.
Yeah.
50, say that you work 50 weeks out of the year, because you're gonna take 2 weeks of vacation. For some people, you know, it's like a month because you take a couple of trips, right? So then he breaks it down to conversations per week and conversations per month. This helps too. He's saying you need to have 41 conversations each week in order to get to this appointment number per week. And you need to have this many conversations per month in order to get to this number of appointments per month. That is the conversion rate, y'all. Okay.
Knock it out on one day.
See, and I feel like those need to be more than they can't be the same person. I mean, like I was asking about the
Yeah,
2,000.
Because you want to be.
Some
able
of
to
them will need to
sell-
be, of course, if you're, reaching out to them, but
Not if
yeah,
you're
you've
trying to
got to
sell
be
that many
touching that many
houses.
more.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Like,
yeah.
You're trying to sell that many
So it
houses.
can't just be you and I talking as much as we do. But we both have to call other people.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing though. If you are looking at your database, because that's what we know, right? I mean, it's 80% of our closed transactions. I'm not saying that's y'all individually. I'm saying collectively. If you can make a point to go into your database and take 10 names every day, 10 names every day, whatever that looks like, that is what it takes if you want to make that money. Okay. The only reason I'm being so direct, about it is because I am doing it too. I am doing it every day. Okay. Do I always want to do it every day? No, I do not.
Do you ever go through your phone and you're like, I hadn't talked to them in a long time. If I call them, they may be like,
No.
who are you again?
No, because I'm consistent.
Yeah.
So they heard from me last month. They heard from me the month before
Or
that.
when you first started it, I mean.
Mm-mm.
Oh, so you always.
No, because they were all
Oh.
strangers. Every one of them.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So when you first started, it
But
was
you've
a
been-
little
she's
of,
been
what if they
consistent. What
don't?
about us that have not been consistent with?
You have to
You
start
gotta
somewhere.
start somewhere. So
Yeah.
how did you break the ice
Yeah.
with those that may would be like, who? And.
So
You know?
I used the same exact prompt on every single person, regardless if I had met them previously or not. And I said, hey, I have, if I didn't know
I
them,
know, me too.
I would say, hey, so-and-so, I've heard such wonderful things about you, and I've been watching closely about, all of your successes. I would love to learn more about you and your story. Do you have time to meet with me on Tuesday or Thursday for about 30 minutes for
So
coffee?
yours gonna be a little different than ours.
Yeah.
She's
But- I'm trying to write it down exactly.
But it's not that different, y'all.
No, yeah.
Like there's
definitely
no need to overcomplicate it or overthink it. Y'all's prompt in terms of your outreach could be, hey, I know we haven't talked in a while. I was thinking about you. I'd love to reconnect. Can we go to
Mhm.
coffee for 30 minutes?
Yeah.
That's it. That is literally it. Because even if they're not in a position to sell or buy, I guarantee you they know somebody who is. And so inevitably, when you're having coffee and you're catching up, they're going to say, so are you still in real estate? How are things? Or I talked to somebody yesterday. You don't even have to bring it up. It's going to come up.
So let me ask you, and not
Mhm.
sound silly or too curious,
No.
because you're not taking them to pitch them, per
Nope,
se.
not
So
pitching.
are you not buying their coffee? Or is it just everybody meeting and buying their own? You know what I mean? Because if I'm
Sometimes I
buying your
did,
coffee, it kinda
sometimes I
feels like
didn't.
Maybe,
I would just try to read the situation. Like and a little tip, because I was like, I was having at one point last year, like 5 and 6 meetings per week. So I was like, that could really add up. So I try to get there like 15 minutes early and already have my coffee, and then they come in and they get their own.
Yeah.
But if it's somebody that I'd met before and that I'm close to, obviously I'm gonna get their
Yeah,
coffee.
You're about to
Yeah.
close the deal, so. then-
Yeah, I mean,
But I think
know.
that's a good idea, because you don't want it to be awkward, and you don't want it, but at the same time, I don't want them to feel like I'm,
mhm,
showing up with an expectation.
mm-mm.
I'm not trying to take.
No. And you could just tell them too, like, y'all could even say like, this year I really want to focus on my relationships with the people who I really enjoy. And so I thought about you. Can we go to coffee?
I like that one.
Because then there's nothing in there about, hey, you want to buy or sell? Like, there's nothing in there. It's just a matter, a matter of
Yeah.
like creating that connection, starting that conversation. Okay. Okay. So of the ones that I showed y'all, do you have a favorite? You're going to get all of them. Don't worry. But do you have a favorite?
I got it out for a second.
That one.
Favorite
Jackie
one.
likes this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like that one too.
Jonna likes this one.
But I do like the circle,
Uh-huh.
because that kind of like.
Oh, yeah.
It puts it in perspective a little
It
bit
does.
more, like, okay, are you good, fair, better,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of, I think that gives you an idea of where your weaknesses are
Yep.
and what you need to work on
Totally.
that way. And
Yeah.
then this is more financial, like,
Mm-hmm.
how much money do you want to make?
Mm-hmm.
Completely different, like,
Yep.
Yeah,
Which
it's
can
like, how do we
strike-
get there?
yeah. So I mean, I think they're a little bit different,
Mm-hmm. They are.
honestly.
Yeah,
And
so you can have both.
what it's trying to tell
Yeah.
you, like, this is gonna be your, like, how much money do you want to make? This is what you have to do to get that. But the other one's showing your weaknesses and where
That
you
really
can work on
to get to
to get to
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
That's right.
The
They are
triangle.
connected.
Yeah.
They're very much
So
connected.
yeah, I like those two.
Yeah.
This one and the other one.
Mm-hmm. Good.
To
Good.
show my weaknesses and then
And your
What I need to
strengths,
ask you.
Jonna, and your strengths.
I don't know if I have any in there.
Oh,
I think
stop
I have
it.
one.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
You have so many strengths.
You do,
Oh.
silly goose.
The
But
fact
yeah.
you can't see it is a weakness.
Very. No, you're correct. I do have a hard time.
You need to work on
That's
that.
why.
Poor Jonna. Lacks in self-awareness.
We like feed each other positivity. I'm like, damn it, no.
Hey, you yourself.
Oh, you definitely, there's people that you were thankful that come into your life and Stacy as well.
For sure. Aw, so sweet.
I didn't mean. to
See,
call you
Jonna
stupid.
always like can just go straight to the heart. Just go straight to the heart.
She does. I
Every
know.
now and then.
I know.
Yeah, every now and
Yeah.
then.
All right. Do y'all have any other questions on any of the plans that we've shared? And here's the last thing that I'll tell y'all before you have questions.
Can you set that up in my computer?
Yeah.
Set that up in my computer.
I know.
I'm just gonna
That's
share
why
it.
it's savviness.
I'm just going to share it. That way you have it and you can keep it forever.
Okay,
And
so
you can
it'll-
edit it though and enter.
I can
it.
edit it.
Yeah.
I'll be able to.
Yes.
Spreadsheet.
Cool.
Yes.
All right, awesome.
Here's what I want y'all to know about a business plan. I think when people hear that, they think, oh God, like it has to be total. No,
Perfect or something.
like it does not have to be in any particular format. This is a tool for you. And so if it literally is written on a sticky note or on a whiteboard or whatever, that's still a plan. So I don't want to overthink it. I don't want to overcomplicate it. When we look at a business plan, it's having this awareness, having the knowledge that we gain through going through this exercise. That is the plan. Okay. And then the way that you execute, the way that you implement is kind of what you were saying, Jonna, too. It's like, oh, now all of a sudden I've checked in and I'm like, okay, I know that this needs work and this needs work. So I'm going to seek training to get help in that area.
Even if it's like.
That is
that
executing the
one
plan.
Thing, like,
Yeah.
'cause
Yep.
I'm gonna have to be like, okay, I just need to focus on this one thing before I can go to
Sure.
2 or 3, like, cause I do have weaknesses. So I'm like, I feel like I need to figure out what's the weakness I have that would generate
Sure.
money,
Sure.
you know,
Mine is
Yeah, that's right.
systems.
the-
Systems.
and my
Wake up,
organization, it's a
Yeah.
system, it's
Yeah.
hard.
do that something every single day.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I do find that is, like, I'm trying to, I've implemented one thing every morning.
Good.
But I have gotten off, but it's affirmation every morning. I have a
Good.
book called, Coffee Talk, like.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a book.
Yeah.
And it's Coffee Talk and you do it like 5 minutes a morning. Well, I do it 10 minutes a morning. I have my
Jonna, that's so
coffee.
good.
Yeah.
I'm
that's
trying,
good.
like,
I'm like, I know, it
It's called
is good.
Coffee
I love
Talk.
positivity in the morning.
I
I
know,
think it's
right? It
coffee
really
talk,
does
but
start it.
I drink coffee every morning, so I was like, I'm gonna take the kids and I take them on my PJs. I do.
Uh-huh.
I take them on my PJs, but I come home
Mhm.
and you have to make yourself do it. I'm like, I'm gonna take this, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm
Yeah.
gonna sit at my little table in my kitchen.
Mhm. That's
and I
right.
drink my coffee and I open my book and I downloaded my phone's dead, but Evernote.
Oh, yeah.
And I put it in there. So I
Uh-huh.
have like 12 affirmations that I have in there now for myself that I say to myself every single morning.
Mhm.
And then I read my book for 10 minutes.
See, that is a
And while I
system.
drink my coffee.
Is Coffee Talk the book you read?
I think it's called coffee, Google it really quick. It's called, I ordered it on Amazon.
Mhm. I
And
love
it's just
that.
about having positivity. I like,
Yep.
when you say it to yourself so many times, like
Mhm.
after like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
there-
It becomes a part
things
of you.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I needed that, like, I needed that right now. So I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I need help.
Yeah.
I need to get my butt out of here and like, I think it's called self,
Ralph Meyer?
no,
Is it
it's
a
called Coffee Talk Self, it's a female. What am I talking about?
Coffee Self-Talk?
Coffee Self-
Kristen Helms?
Yeah, that might be it, but that might be the cover. That's not the cover.
There might be like certain types,
Coffee
like different
self-
Yeah,
editions.
that's it. Coffee
Coffee
Self-Talk.
Self-Talk.
That's it.
Okay.
So yeah, I did
Google.
just start that. So,
That is great.
but it's just something I've implemented. I tried, and but I will say I didn't do it this morning, but I did it. So
Yeah,
like-
that you had like dog poop and like all those things.
And I should have sat down and just read it. And like, I should have made it, but that is
Yeah.
something I've implemented every morning into my schedule.
And
Yeah,
because
coffee
it's
talk.
meaningful to you.
Yeah.
Like that is so
Because when
wonderful.
you feel better
Yeah,
than when you're feeling positive and
you do better.
you do
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
And you're, yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes we are our harshest critics, so changing the
very-
way that
I'm
we,
very
that our
hard on
internal, you
myself,
know
yeah.
what I mean,
Yeah.
monologue is important, yeah.
Mhm.
I like that, and I've really tried to start, and I told you that with a podcast, listening to a podcast instead of.
I
talking
need
on
to
the
do
phone.
that
It's just
now.
while I'm getting ready, I'll just play it on iPhone, you know, but it's, I do too, but something like that, yeah. And Corey made me think, but I asked him the other day about, if he watches TV, and of course he said no, because it's freaking Superman.
Yeah.
But I do it sometimes at night with John because he wants me to with him, you know, and I think that's good time, whatever. But I want to cut it out as much as I do just in general, because I don't like doing it, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, I can schedule it in. Yeah, I like doing it, but I don't get anything done. It's not productive, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay.
I did the same thing, so I was watching a lot, and then I was like, I have to have something positive and negative.
Yeah.
And so like, I'll only watch my show, which is odd, like, if I go to the gym at 9 in the morning, I'm watching like murder shows.
Yeah. Great way to start the day.
I'm on the treadmill.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're murdering your exercise.
Yeah.
You're murdering, yeah, I'm with you, but yeah. But just like anything else, I think it's like we're saying, being intentional and focused and scheduled.
Yeah.
So it's hard, but it is important, yeah.
I want to get my week down, because like, you can do that every morning, but then also like calls. I don't know.
Maybe do it on like Tuesday, Thursdays. I'm gonna do calls Tuesdays and Thursday mornings from this time to this time.
And then if it's if you're not doing it every day, you schedule it, then if you're having a day that you don't feel like you maybe shift the days, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like if I want to drive it a little more, I mean, I don't know, I hate to give you an out whenever we're talking about that, because I can get myself.
The point is you have to schedule it. You
Yeah.
have to. And there is something to be said about doing it when you are feeling at your best. Like if you know you're not a morning person, then don't
Yeah.
do it in the morning
Yeah.
because you're working against yourself. But if you know that you are performing and you feel the best, like maybe it's 11 a.m. or maybe it's 4 p.m., whatever that looks like, that's when you do it. Because people are going to respond to the energy that you have
Yeah.
anyway. So be at your best when you're doing those things.
That's a really, really good thing.
It is, yeah.
Because I think I was doing it the wrong time.
Well, it's hard because you do have to be really honest with yourself about when you're good and when you're not, because when you're not, if you're scheduled when you're not, you'll find much more excuses to get out of it, you know? I mean,
Mhm.
yeah.
I just feel like if I'm in a bad mood on the phone.
Yeah, you can hear it, totally.
Yeah.
I know, I've read something, and maybe it was Zig Ziglar, I can't remember who it was, but said that you need to smile whenever you're
Oh.
talking, because it changes your voice, so they can hear you, yeah.
Oh my God.
Isn't that funny? But you see that, I mean, I guess because you don't realize sometimes you got a stank attitude coming across, but
Mhm.
Oh,
and you're
yeah.
like, hello, asshole.
I got a really bad mood.
Yeah. Crap, the other thing's on. Did we miss it? Yes, I missed it a little. Well, I'm 30 minutes in, but it's okay. I missed it. It was, the coach's corner thing.
Do you do these classes every day?
So whenever I can, I do. I try to, I like it. Well, because I get, Kristen is very eloquent with her speaking, so I like to learn it, but also the more I hear it, the more it becomes habit, you know what I mean, too. Just like you come to doing that every day, if I can come to them every day or a couple times a week,
That is my goal. I
Come
have to
on.
get up here.
love that. You know, you can always go to cooking jar also. Really, everybody does and we like it.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
good.
The one, the group one is right across the hall. So if you want, you know, privacy, if it's too loud, and everything, always come. The one by Kristen's and then come back.
That's my thing. I need to
Oh,
restructure
wrong
my
one.
things.
Well, me and
Hang on.
John have talked about, we still want to do it. but
Dana, did
having
you have
just
any
kind of-
questions for me?
I'm sorry. Having like individual agent group, like brainstorming sessions, just kind of bouncing off, you know, you, Danielle, Lindsay, maybe us, you know, and
Are we gonna do the fun little artsy craftsy one?
yeah, where we get to make our
The vision board,
I
yeah,
have enjoyed
yeah.
those, and I see, I like to go back years and see what has been done that I didn't pay attention to.
Thank y'all so much for being here today. I just shared with you all of the files that we went through. So those are going to come through probably as Google Drive links or from myself as well. If y'all need anything else, let me know. And to answer your question, yes, it's coming. I think it's maybe the second week of December. So pretty soon, maybe the third week. I think it's the third week.
Still gonna be Christine or somebody else?
No,
Okay,
we'll
fine.
do it here. And then we'll have a vendor bring lunch or something so we could just have fun and build them. But yeah, it's coming. So if you have magazines, please bring them. And thank y'all so much for being a part of this class.
Magazines and mimosas.
Oh, yes. Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully it gave you some good insight as to how you can kind of start a plan. And then if you come up with one and you want another set of eyes on it, let me know. I'm happy to look at it. And hope you'll have a great week. Thank you, Dana, and we'll talk to you soon.
Oh, you look cute.